Hello there, my fellow notebook aficionados, and welcome back to Las Vegas and to our CES 2026 coverage. If you have followed along with our recent uploads, it might not be a big surprise for you, but this year's CES is very much in Intel's hands, and the launch of their latest CPU generation for consumer laptops, codenamed Panther Lake, was finally officially unveiled. So we already saw a ton of notebooks betting on Core Ultra Series 3, which is the official name, and while the generation will be at the heart of basically all segments of the market, especially the flagship SKUs will be incredibly interesting, since they might change the way we think about powerful integrated graphics, casual gaming, and what's possible without a dedicated GPU. So how about I give you an overview about the individual parts of the Panther Lake family, give you some early gaming benchmark results, and give you a bit of a market overview for early 2026. Let's get into it. So before I will give you an early glimpse into real-world performance, how about we take a step back and I give you a brief overview about what Panther Lake is. And actually, before we get to that, a quick disclaimer. Intel flew us out to Vegas, so they covered our flights and a part of our accommodation costs during CES. This does not mean that they had any influence on our content or on what I'm going to say within the next few minutes. I just wanted to get it out there for transparency's sake. So what is Panther Lake? Well, in a nutshell, it's Team Blue's new large-scale mainstream architecture aiming to combine the efficiency and GPU capabilities of Lunar Lake with the core count and memory flexibility of last year's Arrow Lake Edge silicon. What this means for you as a customer, you will be able to take advantage of everything the new CPUs offer in a plethora of devices, ranging from super thin and light entertainment or office machines to high-end gaming systems in combination with powerful dedicated GPUs and pretty much everything in between. And as the icing on the cake, there will also be the flagship SKU betting on Intel's fastest ever integrated GPU, but more about that in a little bit. So flexibility, and not just for Intel when it comes to designing and actually manufacturing these CPUs. And if you want to know more about their latest 18A node being put together in their Arizona fab, make sure to watch our video from a few months ago, but also for manufacturers, since they can just pick and choose which individual CPU works best for which device. And as per usual, there's actually a ton of those individual SKUs, and getting used to the namings here and which one does what will definitely take some time. But as always, we are in this together, and I'm sure we will make sense of it all at some point. As you can see, the new platform scales all the way from 6-core entry-level CPUs with 2 graphics cores for entry-level budget machines tuned for efficiency, to mid-range configs offering between 8 and 16 cores and threads, to the flagship Core Ultra X9 with the highest clocks within the whole stack. The highlighted SKUs are the ones to take note here, since they will offer the most GPU grunt, especially with the Arc B390, which is the aforementioned flagship built-in GPU. And before we talk more about that one, while we unfortunately have not been able to do any real-world benchmarks on the CPU part, Intel claims to be both faster than of course Lunar Lake, but also the higher-end Arrow Lake predecessors, while at the same time needing less power. And of course, they are not only competing with themselves, but when it comes to efficiency, they have to beat Qualcomm, and when it comes to performance, AMD will also have a say, especially since both major competitors also have new silicon at the ready. As always, we will have to wait and see until we have been able to validate Intel's claims here, but I'm carefully optimistic that what they say is true. And it will not be very long until we can say for certain, since we actually have the first review devices on the way already. So please make sure to leave your sub so you won't miss our coverage. So let's talk graphics, and again, these are Intel slides, and well, they sure seem quite impressive, not only performing better than last year's silicon by a significant margin, but also leaving even AMD's Strix-Point CPUs behind with a similar performance delta. And compared to the first-gen Snapdragon X Elites, well, it's not really a competition at this point. But what's actually really impressive is this very slide, putting the Core Ultra X9 388H with the integrated Arc B390 roughly on par with a dedicated RTX 4050, which runs at a higher wattage on its own than the full SoC on the Intel side. But sure, slides are nice, and the question is this really something that is possible for real? Well, they allowed us to put their performance claims to the test and let us run some real-world benchmarks on our own. Our test system was the Lenovo IdeaPad Pro 5i I already mentioned in our dedicated Lenovo launch video, and I really can't wait to try this one even more in-depth, since the combination of the new silicon with a full metal chassis, generous 16-inch form factor, a ton of ports and hopefully accessible pricing we are used to see from the IdeaPad line sure sounds like a potent combination for everyday use, casual gaming and content creation. But back to our numbers, so is it true what Intel promised? Yep, pretty much. And I really must say I'm impressed, since it's not every day that you can see such a gen-on-gen performance improvement in this day and age. If and when the B390 can beat dedicated solutions will very much depend on the wattage of the systems we are comparing things with, so keep that in mind. Since in the IdeaPad Pro, for example from almost 2 years ago, the 4050 alone could consume up to 90 watts, while the new Arc GPU runs with around 25 watts sustained during our benchmarking session today, just to give our numbers some perspective. Upscaling and frame gen in the form of Intel's Xe SS3 is of course also a big topic, and I was giving it a go in Cyberpunk, and in the same ultra settings in 1080p we used for our rasterized testing, I got around 140 to 150 FPS with XeS upscaling in quality and 4x frame gen override in the Intel driver. And while I did not have a ton of time, it felt incredibly smooth, without any latency issues and no apparent visual artifacts I was able to notice at first glance. So there is definitely even more tuning potential to get playable frame rates even beyond just 60 FPS. Some of you will probably also think about Strix Halo right now, and I also included some numbers here as well, but keep in mind that systems running AMD's Monster APU are incredibly expensive and still very rare. So while it of course is a lot faster than Intel's new offering, it again runs at a much higher wattage than Panther Lake, and I have seen more systems running Team Blue's new silicon in person at CES than have ever been announced with Strix Halo. And while we do not have confirmed pricing yet, what I heard so far, well, the B390 might apparently be much more accessible for most of you than AMD's fastest APU. So with all of that out of the way, should you care for Panther Lake? While there are still a lot of variables and things we simply don't know, like the real-world CPU performance, how systems with dedicated GPUs will run with the new silicon, and of course how the lower-end SKUs will perform, what we have seen so far looks again very promising if you ask me. And I'm personally very excited for the X-Class chips, since those could be great alternatives for both casual gamers and creatives if you do not want to opt for systems with a dedicated GPU. And I really can't wait to try the new silicon for our video production and my personal gaming needs. But as always folks, sound off below. I would love to know what you guys think and what CPU will most likely power your next notebook. That should also already be it from my end for today. Please leave your like and sub if you felt informed and entertained, and make sure to check out our CES 2026 coverage. There's some good stuff on the channel. Thanks a ton for watching. My name is Alex, you have been fantastic, and I cannot wait to see you all in the next one. Take care.